So here we go. The signature key race on the day, the featured race, the Pennsylvania Derby. It's a grade one. It's the 13th race on Saturday card at Parks. It's run at 1.125 for 3-year-olds. And we've got some familiar faces, of course. Seize the Gray, the Preakness winner. We've got Dragoon Guard, who's been doing nothing but winning, won the West Virginia Derby as well as the Indiana Derby. Unmatched Wisdom for Chad Brown, who made a bit of noise after winning the Curlin, not so much after the mediocre effort in the Travers. And then we've got Stronghold from California, who's been a hard knocker all through the Derby Trail, won the Santa Anita Derby, and most recently got a second in the Indiana Derby. So this field is interesting in one respect, is that look at all the early speed we have. Now, this will certainly be the first time, I think, that Dragoon Guard is really going to get a test on the front end. He's never run in a really big field before. I mean, he ran in a 9-horse field in the maiden, but that's a maiden. Can't really count that. So now he's going to be facing some significant pressure. Lonesome Boy and Who's the King, I think. Lonesome Boy, I just don't think is good enough, and Who's the King isn't either. So I think they represent, to me, cheap speed more than anything else, and will move along Dragoon Guard and probably aren't going to let him settle terribly well. Just Step On It had a really game effort last time in the, I believe it was the Albany Stakes. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. But what I like about this horse, he likes to fight. He just kind of likes to fight, likes to mix it up, and he was very game in his last effort. And I think he's going to be pushing hard all the way around the track. Now, I don't think he's good enough to win. He certainly doesn't have speed figures commensurate with the better horses in here. But I think he has that stick-to-itiveness and that grit. And he's a little more battle-tested than Dragoon Guard. So I think maybe he can stick around. I mean, I don't think the pace is going to be, it shouldn't be lightning fast. I mean, because, you know, the horses who want to have a chance in it don't want to burn themselves out early. And plus, everybody's going to be afraid of who's going to be sent. And you know how this works when you have a lot of front runners. So I'm guessing the pace will be honest, maybe a tad quick, but that's about it. But Just Step On It, I think, has the grit to stick around, and particularly if that is the pace scenario, tactically he'll be in a pretty good place and can hang in there. Now, Dragoon Guard, the main thing, as I mentioned, is he really hasn't been tested yet. Now, he won the West Virginia Derby and he won the Indiana Derby, but let's face it, those are JV races, and this is too, to be honest. So it's not a step up in class per se, but you do have a couple of performers here who are battle tested, so I think it elevates it to a degree. I just don't like horses like this at 9 to 5 when they haven't really had the boots put to them. And so could Dragoon Guard win this race? Yeah, he can. He can get on the lead, and if nobody goes to get him, I mean, he could be very tough to beat. He certainly, in his last two races, it looks to me like the fact that he was left alone, he just gained more and more confidence, and you couldn't rein him in. I'm just betting that that's not going to happen here. And in this field, I don't want him at 9 to 5. For the pick 5 sequence, sure, we'll throw him in there. But I want to try to beat him. I think this is a really good opportunity, and there's horses in here I think are more eligible to win this race. Now we go to the early pace runners, and Doc Sullivan is, forgive me, he was the one who ran in the Albany last time, sorry. And he put on a really good effort. He just can't get by Pandagate in his last two, but he did have a really solid effort in there. And, you know, he has won against Open Company, albeit at the optional claimer level. But this is a step up for him, and I think he can factor in this race. I think he's going to have to maybe take another step forward to speed figure-wise in order to win this. But I think he can be in the mix for sure at 12 to 1. I think that's a really good price, and he's a nice horse. So let's keep him in there, rating off the pace. And, you know, in this field, I mean, he could surprise very well. But I just think underneath is probably more likely. Now, Seize the Gray, I think that what the doctor ordered with Seize the Gray, as well as for many trained by the coach, is he just needs a break. He had a lot of races and going into the Jim Dandy, and I think he just needed a little time off. I think the coach wanted to put him in the Travers, but after the Jim Dandy, decided to give him some time off, and he definitely needed it. I don't think there's any doubt about that. His efforts following the Preakness were pretty substandard. This horse can run better than that. If he can return to that type of form, running fresh, I think he has a really good chance to win this race. And at 5-1, he's a steal. He has the back class, and he's shown the ability. He does not need the lead. He could very well try to get it, but I think it's more likely that he'll rate just off of the pace and should be in good striking position. And I think Seize the Gray is a major player in here. Protective, might as well still be a maiden. That race he won was off the turf. It was 4 horses in the race. And honestly, I mean, I've never really, I had a little bit of interest in this horse back at the Wood Memorial. But honestly, he just looks like a grinder to me that this race doesn't set up well for. Maybe he could back his way into a 3rd place finish, but that would be the extent of my interest. I don't consider him a win candidate. I think, again, this is Mike Rapoli just, wanting to be heard. Got to throw a horse in a stakes race. And so that's why we have Protected. But I just don't like him in this spot. Unmatched Wisdom, certainly after the Kerwin, looked like a horse who was ready to take a move forward. And then in the Travers, he just really didn't run at all. And I can't, you look at it and think maybe it was just the class test. Or the fact that it may have been that he didn't get the lead. But, this horse is rated before. So I don't think he's a totally in need the lead type. I just think maybe he was a little overwhelmed with the scenario. I'm not sure. But I do know Chad Brown has been high on this horse, and he's had time to regroup. And I think at 8-1, he's just phenomenal value in a race that doesn't really, if you think about it, doesn't really have a big standout. And so at 8-1, I want value. I'm taking Unmatched Wisdom as my pick to win this. Now, Stronghold at 5-2, being out in the 11 hole to me is the big problem, of course. This is a hard-knocking horse. He has talent. I like him as a horse, but you got to, at some point, note the fact he doesn't win. He hasn't won since the Santa Anita Derby. He ran a deceptively pretty good Kentucky Derby, but he was fading back. He hasn't really built on it. And the Indiana Derby, he couldn't get to Dragoon Guard. He did run a very good race, but tactically, it's going to be awful tough from the 11 hole. And at 5-2, I think underneath, that price is prohibitive to me in this field. So I think underneath to me would be more likely. He can win this. I just think things might be a little bit against him here. Timeout I'm throwing in here because it's Belmont, and that's it. This is a horse who's incrementally improved with every start. He's gotten a little bit better, but not markedly better. He's been running at the allowance level. He's never been in a stakes race. He's certainly eligible to get better, but I have a feeling sitting as far back as he probably will may be prohibitive here and may be to his detriment. I just got a feeling you're going to want to be right up off of the pace setters in this one because there's a lot of cheap speed. They're going to be backing up. It's going to create some traffic issues. And horses way at the back, I think, are going to have it very hard to make some headway unless they're going to swing way wide. And, of course, they're going to lose a lot of ground. Can Timeout get into the money here? Sure, no doubt. He can get up for third. But I probably would be maybe second, but that would be the extent of it. I just need to see him run a little bit better before I'm thinking about him as a win candidate. Uncle Heavy, I've never liked this horse. I just don't think he's very good. He won the Withers, but that, as we know, the New York circuit was nothing to write home about, and he really hasn't done terribly much running against quality fields since. And I think this will be more the same. Yes, he's on his home track, and he has 2 wins there. That's true, and it's Butch Reed. But I think the bloom is off the rose on Uncle Heavy, and I just don't want any part of him at 12-1 in this race. So we take a look at our wagering strategy. I'm going with the value. I'm going with Unmatched Wisdom on top. So we'll go with a win bet. We get anything close to 8-1, we'll be happy. I'll expect him to drift up a little bit, but you know, we can still get 5-1, 6-1, something in there. I still think we're looking pretty good. We're going to do an 8-2 cold exacta, and then we'll box with Seize the Gray, who I think is the logical second choice here. We get them both at relatively close odds to what they are on the morning line. We're looking good. Then we'll do a key exacta with 8 on top with 1 and 4. Doc Sullivan and Timeout as sort of a saver. And then we're just going to do one trifecta. We're not going to go crazy. We're just going to go for it. If it happens, great. If it doesn't, whatever. Turn the page. So we'll go 8 on top with 1, 2, 4 in second, with 1, 2, 4, 6, 7, and 11 in third. And we'll throw in Dragoon Guard as one that, you know, might be able to stick around. I'm not overly confident. He usually horses, there's really 1 or 2 ways to go with Dragoon Guard here. To me, he either wins it going away or he's off the board. I don't think there's any alternative to that. That's just the way it should set up. And with all this pressure testing him and moving up in class fairly significantly, although it's not the classiest race, but it is a move up with Seize the Gray and Unmatched Wisdom and Stronghold in here. So I just can't get behind that mule. Not at 9-5, I can't. So I hope this analysis helps you with your own wagering strategy, and I wish you the best of luck as always. Be on the lookout for our Philly Big Five sequence video. We'll be having that, and I think we're going to throw in one more if we can for the last stakes race for the Philly Big Five. So it's a full stakes pick 5. We always love that, and so be on the lookout for more from Right at the Wire. I'll talk to you soon, and until then, be well.